Welcome to SEB Studios and SEB Equities. And today we have the CEO of Alcadon Group, Mr. Sonny Mirborn, with us in the studio. Welcome, Sonny.
Thank you.
So over the past years, you've made several important acquisitions, most recently of Irish Woods Communications. Could you just give us a brief update on that acquisition and what to expect in terms of growth and financials going forward, please?
Sure. This is typical the acquisition we want to do. It's within our niche, network infrastructure. They are very strong on the data center side and on the cabling side. So it's exactly the area that we actually know fairly well. And we've been discussing with them for a year and a half, and they've been in close cooperation with Network Center, the acquisition we did before that. But in terms of what you can expect from this company, I mean, on a standalone basis, this is not a growth case. It's more of a cash cow. They have achieved a very strong position in their markets, and from that level, I think you can expect a low single-digit growth of perhaps 3-4% a year or something like that. But we are going to add synergies. So the main thing here is to add the synergies and see them keep the margins and the cash flow generating business going forward, basically.
You also mentioned NWC or Network Center. To date, your by far biggest acquisition. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts on that progress compared to your initial plans at the acquisition, and what to expect in terms of financials for NWC going forward.
Well, you can say often when you make an acquisition like this, and this was transformative, today it's over 40% of our turnover. But when you do an acquisition like this, you often have, different scenarios. You have a low case and a best case and somewhere in between. And they have by far ended up within our best case scenario and reached our expectations there. So we're really glad about that. And as we said, when we did the acquisition, we expect them to gain leverage on their operating margins, which they have. They are basically in line with the targets we have as a group. So we're quite happy about that. But I think the best thing about Network Center is that they have maintained a really strong position within their three fields that they are present, also within network infrastructure, and they have delivered cash flow. That's the main thing that we're looking at.
Excellent. So you just very recently recorded Q1 results showing rather low single-digit organic growth and declining margins year on year. And I think now is a good time perhaps to just give us an update on your view on the first quarter 2024, please.
Sure, sounds good. You can say that first quarter of the previous year was very, very strong. I think we had an organic pro forma growth of 22% or something like that. So in comparison, it was a tough quarter. And despite that, we managed to grow organically, even though a very weak organic growth. The profit level was just about steady. I think it's declined with about 10 to 13%. So we're still quite satisfied about this. The market conditions are not the best within the broadband segment, and that's a substantial part of our business still. It's 25% of our turnover. So in some geographical markets, the broadband segment is faring quite bad at the moment. But the data center market is booming, and that's about the same size as the broadband segment for us. And the rest of the business is quite stable. So we are basically quite satisfied that in these market conditions, we are performing as well as we do, actually.
Now, after 5 years as CEO of Alcadon Group, you have announced that you will leave the company this October coming up. Could you give us, perhaps share some thoughts on sort of the readiness within the organization for key management changes coming up, please?
Sure. I mean, this is something that we have discussed, the whole management team with the board the last 4 years, basically, to enhance and strengthen the structural capital of the group, because as a small company, it's very easy that you're dependent on a few key individuals. I'd say the last 3 years, we haven't been there. We have a structural capital, and we are working extremely decentralized. So each market, each segment have their own operations, their own management teams, which basically enable us at the headquarters to work with capital allocation and larger strategy projects. So basically, I would say that the readiness is very, very strong today to manage even without the CEO for quite a while.
And just briefly to end this interview, would you care to share with us your financial targets for Alcadon Group as they stand?
Well, we have three targets. One is to grow 20% a year over a business cycle, and I think that we have managed and well above the last 5 years, and even before that. One is the EBITDA margin above 10%. We have said by 2025 we're going to reach that target, and I'm quite sure that we will. You could also say that most of our markets today are in line with that target, so we're quite satisfied where we stand today. And in terms of leverage, we say net debt EBITDA 2 to 3, and today we are within that range in the lower part. So we have a strong balance sheet going forward, and we can basically do acquisitions with our own cash flow, and that's good.
Excellent, Sonny. Thank you so much for coming to SEB Equities today, and thank you for watching.